Hello, guys and gals, and we are starting a new series here since Neptune 1 is missing. The previous series is over with. We'll be reading William Goldman's The Princess Bride, a hot fairy tale. And so I guess it's by William Goldman. I'm guessing. I don't know. I got this book at the library. This is the copyright 1973. Sorry. Copyright 1973 by William Goldman, all rights reserved, published in the United States by Ballantine Books, a division of Random House Incorporated, New York, and simultaneously in Canada by Ballantine Books of Canada, Limited, Toronto, Canada. Library of Congress, and then it's the fourth printing, 1977, the year I was born. Cool. Okay, so anyways, we are going to read this. Since it seems to be okay, I don't see any copyright issues or anything. So let's start this. I love this movie. So anyways, this is my favorite book in all the world, though I have never read it. How is such a thing possible? I'll do my best to explain. As a child, I had simply no interest in books. I hated reading. I was very bad at it. And besides, how could you take the time to read when there were games that shrieked for playing? Basketball, baseball, marbles. I could never get enough. I wasn't even good at them. But give me a football and an empty playground and I could invent last-second triumphs that would bring tears to your eyes. School was torture. Miss Roginski, who was my teacher for the 3rd through 5th grade, would have meeting after meeting with my mother. I don't feel Billy is perhaps extending himself quite as much as he might. Or, when we test him, Billy does really exceptionally well considering his class standing. Or most often, I don't know, Miss Goldman. There's Goldman, Mrs. Goldman. What are we going to do about Billy? What are you going to do about Billy? That was the phrase that haunted me. Those first 10 years, I pretended not to care, but secretly I was petrified. Everyone and everything was passing me by. I had no real friends, no single person who shared an equal interest in all games. I seemed busy, but I suppose, if pressed, I might have admitted that, for all my frenzy, I was very much alone. What are we going to do about you, Billy? I don't know, Miss Roginski. How could you have failed this reading test? I've heard you use every word with my own ears. I'm sorry, Miss Roginski. I must not have been thinking. You're always thinking, Billy. You just weren't thinking about the reading test. I could only nod. What was it this time? I don't know. I can't remember. What was it, Stanley Hack again? Stan Hack was the Cubs' third baseman for these and many other years. I saw him play once from a bleacher seat, and even at that distance, he had the sweetest smile I had ever seen. And to this day, I swear he smiled at me several times. I just worshipped him. He could also hit a ton. Bronco Nagurski. He's a football player, a great football player, and the paper last night said he might come back and play for the Bears again. He retired when I was little, but if he came back, then I could get someone to take me to the game. Oh, he retired when I was little, but if he came back and I could get someone to take me to a game, I could see him play, and maybe if whoever took me also knew him, I could meet him after, and maybe if he was hungry, I might let him have a sandwich I might have brought with me. I was trying to figure out what kind of sandwich Bronco Nagurski would like. She just sagged at her desk. You've got a wonderful imagination, Billy. I don't know why I said probably thank you or something. I can't harness it, though, she went on. She went on. Why is that? I think it's that probably I need glasses and I don't read because the words are so fuzzy. That would explain why I'm all the time squinting. Maybe if I went to an eye doctor who could give me glasses, I'd be the best reader in class, and you wouldn't have to keep me after school so much. She just pointed behind her. Get to work cleaning the blackboards, Billy. Yes, ma'am. I was the best at cleaning blackboards. Do they look fuzzy? Miss, Miss Roginski said after a while. Oh, no, I just made that up. I never squinted either. But she seemed so whipped about it. She, she always did. This had been going on for 3 grades now. I'm just not getting through to you somehow. It's not your fault, Miss Roginski. It wasn't. I just worshipped her too. She was all dumpy and fat, but I used to wish she'd been my mother. I could never make that really come out right unless she had been married to my father first, and then they'd gotten divorced, and my father had married my mother, which was okay because Miss Roginski had to work, so my father got custody of me. That all made sense, only they never seemed to know each other, my dad and Miss Roginski. Whenever they'd meet each year during the Christmas pageant, when all the parents came, I'd watch the two of them like crazy, hoping that for some kind of secret glimmer or look that could only mean, well, how are you? How's your life been going since our divorce? But no soap. She wasn't my mother, she was just my teacher, and I was her only personal and growing disaster area. You're going to be all right, Billy. I sure hope so, Miss Roginski. You're a late bloomer, that's all. Winston Churchill was a late bloomer, and so are you. I was about to ask her who he played for, but there was something in her tone that made me know enough not to. And Einstein. Him, I also don't know. Or what a late bloomer was either, but boy, did I ever want to be one. When I was 26, my first novel, The Temple of Gold, was published by Alfred A. Knopf. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Knopf, Knopf, which is now part of Random House, which is now part of RCA, which is just a part of what is wrong with publishing in America today, which is not part of the story. Anyways, before publication, the publicity people at Knopf were talking to me, trying to figure out what they could do to justify their salaries, and they asked who did I want to send advanced copies to that might be an opinion maker. And I said, I don't know anyone like that. And they said, think. Everybody knows somebody or someone. Let's check. Somebody. And so I got all excited because the idea just came to me. And I said, okay, send a copy to Miss Roginski, which I figured was logical and terrific because if anybody made an opinion, she did. She's all through Temple of Gold, by the way, only I called her Miss Patolsky. And then I was creative. Even then I was creative. Who? This publicity lady said. This old teacher of mine. You send her a copy and I'll sign it and maybe write a little. I was really excited until the publicity guy interrupted with, we were thinking of someone more on the national scene. Very soft, I said, Miss Roginski, you'll just send her a copy, please, okay? Yes, he said. Yes, by all means. You remember how I didn't ask who Churchill played for because of her tone. I must have hit that same tone, too, because then, anyways, something must have happened because he right away wrote her name down, asking was it ski or sky? With the I told him, already hiking through the years trying to get the inscription fantastic for her. You know, clever and modest and brilliant and perfect. Like that. First name? That brought me back fast. I didn't know her first name. Miss was all I ever called her. I didn't know her address either. I didn't even know if she was alive or not. I hadn't been back to Chicago in 10 years. I was an only child. Both folks gone. Who needed Chicago? Send it to Highland Park Grammar School, I said. First, what I thought I'd written was, for Miss Roginski, a rose from your late bloomer. But then I thought that was too conceited, so I decided, for Miss Roginski, a weed from your late bloomer would be more humble. Too humble. I decided next, and that was it for bright ideas. That day I couldn't think of anything. Then I thought, what if she doesn't even remember me? hundreds of students over the years. Why should she? Oh. So finally, in desperation, I put for Miss Roginski from William Goldman. Billy, you called me and you said I would be a late bloomer. And this book is for you, and I hope you like it. I was in your class for third, fourth, and fifth grades. Thank you very much, William Goldman. The book came out and got bombed. Oh, wow. I stayed in and did the same, adjusting. Not only did it not establish me as the freshest thing since Kit Marlowe, it also didn't get read by anybody. Not true. It got read by any number of people, all of whom I knew. I think it is safe to say, however, no strangers savored it. It was a grinding experience, and I reacted as indicated above. So when Miss Roginski's note came late, it got sent by Kampf or Nampf, and they took their time relaying it. I was really ready for a lift. Dear Mr. Goldman, thank you for the book. I have not had time to read it, but I am sure it is a fine endeavor. I of course remember you. I remember all my students. Yours sincerely, Antonia Roginski. What a crusher. She didn't remember me at all. I sat there holding the note, rocked. People don't remember me. Really? It's not any paranoid thing. I just have this habit of slipping through memories. It doesn't bother me all that much, except I guess that's a lie. It does. For some reason, I test very high on forgettability. So when Miss Roginski sent me that note making her just like everyone else, I was glad she'd never gotten married. I'd never liked her. Anyway, she'd always been a rotten teacher, and it served her right. Her first name was Antonia. I didn't mean it, I said out loud right then. I was alone in my one-room job on Manhattan's glamorous West Side, and talking to myself. I'm sorry, I went on. You've got to believe that, Miss Roginski. What had happened, of course, was that I'd finally seen the postscript. It was on the back of the thank you note. And what it said was idiot. Not even the immortal S. Morgenstern could feel more parental than I. S. Morgenstern, the Princess Bride. She remembered. Flashback. 1941 autumn. I'm a little cranky because my radio won't get the football games. Northwestern is playing. I think this is actually Illinois. Northwestern is playing Notre Dame. It starts at 1, and by 1:30 I can't get the game. Music, news, soap operas, everything but not the biggie. I call for my mother. She comes. I tell her my radio's busted. I can't find Northwestern Notre Dame. She says, you mean the football? Yes, I say. It's Friday, she says. I thought they played on Saturday. Am I an idiot? I lie back, listening to the soap, and after a little, I try finding it again. And my stupid radio will pick up every Chicago station except the one carrying the football game. I really holler now, and again my mother tears in. I'm gonna heave this radio right out the window, I say. It won't get it. I cannot make it get it. Get what? She said. The football game, I said. How dumb are you? The game Saturday. And watch your tongue, young man, she said. I already told you. It's Friday, she goes again. Was there ever so ample a dance? Humiliated, I flick around on my trusty Zenith, trying to find the football game. It was so frustrating. I was lying there sweating, and my stomach felt crazy, and I was pounding the top of the radio to make it work. Right. And that was how they discovered I was delirious with pneumonia. Pneumonia. Today is not what it once was, especially when I had it. 10 days or so in the hospital and then home for the long recuperating period. I guess it was 3 more weeks in bed, a month maybe, no energy, no games even. I just was this lump going through a strength gathering time period, which which is now which is how you have to think of me when I came upon The Princess Bride. It was my first night home, drained, still one sick cookie. My father came in. I thought to say good night. He sat on the end of the bed. Chapter 1, The Bride, he said. It was then only I kind of looked up and saw he was holding a book. That alone was surprising. My father was next to illiterate in English. He came from Florin, the setting of The Princess Bride, and there he sat. Oh, there he had been, and there he had been no fool. He said once he would have ended up a lawyer, and maybe so. The facts are, when he was 16, he got a shot at coming to America, gambling on the land of opportunity, and lost. There was never much here for him. He was not attractive to look upon, very short, and from an early age bald, and he was ponderous at learning. Once he got a fact, it stayed, but the hours it took to pass into his cranium were not to be believed. His English always stayed ridiculously immigranty, and that didn't help him either. He met my mother on the boat over, got married later, and when he thought they could afford it, had me. He worked forever as the number 2 chair in the least successful barber shop in Highland Park, Illinois. Toward the end, he used to doze all day in his chair. He went that way. He was gone an hour before the number 1 guy realized it. Until then, he just thought my father was having a good doze. Maybe he was. Maybe that's all any of this is. When they told me, I was terribly upset, but I thought at the same time it was an almost existence proving way for him to go. Anyways, I said, what? I didn't hear. I was so weak, so terribly tired. Chapter 1, The Bride. He held up the book then. I'm reading it to you for relax. He practically shoved the book in my face. By S. Morgenstern, great Florinese writer, The Princess Bride. He too came to America. S. Morgenstern, dead now in New York. The English is his own. He spoke 8 tongues. Here my father put down the book and held all his fingers 8. Once in Florin City, I was in his cafe. He shook his head now. He was always doing that. My father shaking his head when he'd said it wrong. Not his cafe. He was in it. Me too. The same time. I saw him. S. Morgenstern. He had head like this. That big, and he shaped his hands like a big balloon. Great man in Florin City. Not so much in America. Has it got any sports in it? Fencing, fighting, torture, poison, true love, hate, revenge, giants, hunters, bad men, good men, beautifulest ladies, snakes, spiders, beasts of all natures and description, pain, death, brave men, coward men, strongest men, chases, escapes, lies, truths, passion, miracles. Sounds okay, I said, and I kind of closed my eyes. I'll do my best to stay awake, and I'm awfully sleepy, Daddy. Who can know when his world is going to change? Who can tell before it happens, and even prior experience all the years were preparation for nothing? Picture this now, an all but illiterate old man struggling with an enemy tongue, an all but exhausted young boy fighting against sleep and nothing between them but the words of another alien, painfully translated from native sounds to foreign. Who could suspect that in the morning a different child would wake? I remember for myself only trying to beat back fatigue. Even a week later, I was not aware of what had begun that night. The doors that were slamming shut while others slid into the clear. Perhaps I should have at least known something, or maybe not. Who can sense revelation in the wind? What happened was just this. I got hooked on that story. For the first time in my life, I became actively interested in a book. Me, the sports fanatic, me, the game freak, me, the only 10-year-old in Illinois with for hate on for hate on for the alphabet, wanted to know what happened next. What became of beautiful Buttercup and poor Wesley and Inigo, the great swordsman in the greatest swordsman in the history of the world? And how really strong was Fezek? And were there limits to the cruelty of Vizzini, the devil Sicilian? Each night my father read to me, chapter by chapter, always fighting to sound the words properly, to nail down the sense as I lay there, eyes kind of closed, my body slowly beginning the long flow back to strength. It took, as I said, probably a month, and in that time he read The Princess Bride twice to me. Even when I was able to read myself, this book remained his. I would never have dreamed of opening it. I wanted his voice, his sounds. Years later, even, sometimes I might say, how about the duel on the cliff with Inigo and the man in black? And my father would gruff and grumble and get the book and lick his thumb, turning page till the mighty battle began. I loved that. Even today, that's how I summon back my father when the need arises, slumped and squinting and halting over words, giving me Morgenstein's masterpiece as best he could. The Princess Bride belonged to my father. Everything else was mine. There wasn't an adventure story anywhere that was safe for me. Come on, I would say to Miss Roginski when I was well again. Stevenson. You keep saying Stevenson. I've finished Stevenson. Who now? And she would say, well, try Scott. See how you like him. So I tried old Sir Walter, and I liked him well enough to butt through a half-dozen books in December. A lot of that was Christmas vacation when I didn't have to interrupt my reading for anything but now and then a little food. Who else? Cooper, maybe. She said, so off I went to the Deer Slayer and all the leather stocking stuff, and then on my own, one day I stumbled onto Dumas and De Artigan, and that got me through most of February. Those guys. You have become before my very eyes a novelholic. Novelholic, Miss Roginski said. Do you realize you are spending more time now reading than you used to spend on games? Do you know that your arithmetic grades are actually getting worse? I never minded when she knocked me. We were alone in the schoolroom, and I was after her for somebody good to devour. She shook her head. You're certainly blooming, Billy, before my very eyes. I just don't know into what. I just stood there and waited for her to tell me to read somebody. You're impossible, standing there waiting, she thought a second. All right, try Hugo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Hugo, I said. Hunchback, thank you. And I turned, ready to begin my sprint to the library. I heard her words sighed behind me as I moved. This can't last. It just can't last. But it did. And it has. I am as devoted to adventure now as then, and that's never going to stop. That first book of mine, I mentioned, The Temple of Gold. Do you know where the title comes from? From the movie Gunga Din, which I've seen 16 times, and I still think is the greatest adventure movie ever made. True story about Gunga Din. When I got discharged from the army, I made a vow never to go back on an army post. No big deal, just a simple lifelong vow. Okay, now I'm home the day after I get out, and I've got a buddy at Fort Sheridan nearby, and I call to check in, and he says, hey, guess what's on post tonight? Gunga Din. We'll go, I said. It's tricky, he said. You're a civilian. Upshot, I got back into uniform the first night. I was out and snuck onto the army post to see the movie. Snuck back, a thief in the night. Heart pounding and sweats everything. I'm addicted to action, adventure, call it what you will, in any way, shape, etc. I never missed an Alan Ladd picture, an Errol Flynn picture. I still don't miss John Wayne pictures. My whole life really began with my father reading me the Morgenstern when I was 10. Fact, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is no question the most popular thing I've ever been connected with. When I die, if the Times give me an obit, it's going to be because of Butch. Okay, now what's the scene everybody talks about? The single moment that stays fresh for you and me and the masses? Answer, the jump off the cliff. Well, when I wrote that, I remember thinking that those cliffs they were jumping off, those were the cliffs of insanity, and everybody tries to climb. Oh, that everyone tries to climb in The Princess Bride. In my mind, when I wrote Butch, I was thinking back further into my mind, remembering my father reading the rope climb up the cliffs of insanity and the death that was lurking right behind. We're going to have to stop this here. I don't know if this even has chapters, to be honest. Probably doesn't. Oh well. Anyways, we made it pretty far. Anyways, we have been reading from William Goldman's The Princess Bride. And if you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you want to support me in any way, all the information will be in the description below, and you can join the Discord server, and that'll be in the Discord in the description as well. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.